Most first ladies are content to stay out of politics and just enjoy the fabulous social life. But Hillary Rodham Clinton is as much a political beast as her husband and former US President Bill Clinton. Known for her deep commitment to social issues, the outspoken feminist has never been afraid of making enemies. A trait that stands her in good stead in the dog-eat-dog, male-dominated world of politics. As the clock ticked over into the new millennium, she took the opportunity to share her vision of America's future.
For in the new millennium, the world will be looking to America for leadership in meeting our great common challenges. If we in America can extend prosperity to people and places in this country that have not yet felt it, then perhaps the global economy can bring a better life to the 1.4 billion people who live on less than $1 a day.
That vision began in the classroom.
If we in America can provide all of our children with a world-class education, then perhaps it will be possible in the not-too-distant future for every child in the world to have a good education. And if we can build one America and make our diversity our greatest strength, then perhaps other nations will see the advantage of working to overcome their own ethnic and religious tensions.
The story goes that Hillary was given the unusual double L in her first name after her pregnant mother read an article on the mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary. The dates don't quite add up, but the story illustrates her mother Dorothy's determination to inspire her daughter. Her father Hugh was a successful small businessman, and Hillary has two brothers, Hugh and Tony. As the eldest child, she showed her intelligence, energy and talents early on, excelling academically, physically and in leadership roles at school. Unusually for the time, both her parents encouraged her to pursue her own career. Her love of politics was obvious from a young age. It was at Wellesley College, where she studied political science, that Hillary made the shift away from conservative ideals. Her first presidential position was on the College Government Association Board, where she showed her ability to broker agreements, managing to keep the college clear of the violent protests that besieged other institutions at the time. In 1970, she enrolled in Yale Law School, and her student legal work quickly became focused on the underprivileged. In 1971, she met Bill Clinton, but it wasn't until '75 that she finally agreed to marry him, keeping her maiden name Rodham. During the 1970s, the couple continued their political commitments, and in 1976, Bill was elected Arkansas Attorney General. Hillary joined the prestigious Rose law firm, and it wasn't until Bill became president many years later that he finally started earning more money than his wife. Bill was elected as governor in late 1978, and Hillary continued to practice law alongside her First Lady of Arkansas duties. When Bill was elected President of the United States in 1993, he was keen to give his wife a great deal of responsibility.
Today I am announcing the formation of the President's Task Force on National Health Reform. Although the issue is complex, the task force's mission is simple. Build on the work of the campaign and the transition. Listen to all parties and prepare health care reform legislation to be submitted to Congress within 100 days of our taking office. This task force will be chaired by the First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and will include the Secretaries of Health and Human Services, Treasury, Defense, Veterans Affairs, Commerce, Labor, as well as the Director of the Office of Management and Budget and senior White House staff members.
Aware that the skeptics would not believe that change was possible within 100 days, Bill warned they were in for a surprise.
I think that in the coming months the American people will learn, as the people of our state did, that we have a First Lady of many talents, but who most of all can bring people together around complex and difficult issues to hammer out consensus and get things done.
3 years into the presidency, Hillary was warding off trouble that had first begun in 1992. The Whitewater controversy revolved around the Clintons' loss of their investment in the Whitewater Development Corporation. Accusations were made that Hillary's law firm faced a conflict of interest, but Hillary didn't agree.
It was a good investment offered by somebody who knew a lot, who could provide a lot of good advice, and I was lucky and made the decision to stop when I did.
The First Lady was eventually cleared of all illegality. In 1997, Bill began his second term in office. These were to prove difficult years for Hillary, however, she continued to pursue her passions. In 1998, she was in Bulgaria at a women's conference, which was attended by many of the First Ladies from the area. In the formerly communist country, she told the gathered company that she was thrilled to be working alongside women who were breaking down traditional boundaries.
I'm very honored to be here with you this evening. I want the people and the government of Bulgaria to know on behalf of my husband and the government and people of the United States how impressed we are with the reform efforts that you have undertaken in the last several years. We know that the path of reform and change is not easy. It is not easy in any democracy, including the United States, and it takes persistence and effort and compromise. But we also know that the progress you have made will continue to develop and bring benefits to your people. And please know that the United States is proud to be a friend and partner with Bulgaria.
Although Hillary traveled on state business, it must have been a relief to be away from Washington, as the scandal surrounding Bill and the intern Monica Lewinsky gathered pace. Hillary publicly announced that she would stick by her wayward husband.
You know, when you're a part of a family, you're supposed to be able to know that there'll be a seat waiting for you in good times and bad times.
Insiders noticed that Monica was not the first woman to catch Bill's eye outside of his marriage. He initially denied the rumors, but the lie was eventually uncovered, and it led to his impeachment. Many couldn't understand why Hillary continued to support him, but the author of a biography published in 1999 suggested their relationship was complex. In a 4-day visit to Israel in 1999, Hillary reiterated the mantra she holds close to her heart, that children's safety is the most fundamental of human rights.
It is certainly not unthinkable that here in Israel, this generation of children may finally live out the majority of their lives in a land secure and at peace, free from the terrible shadows of terrorism and war. So we know our children may very well live healthier, longer, and in many ways materially richer lives than we or certainly our parents or grandparents enjoyed. But we also know that that inheritance is far from certain, and we understand deeply that material wealth is not spiritual wealth. The hopeful possibilities of the future are meaningless if our children cannot feel or be safe day to day. Everything does pale in comparison to our ability to keep our children safe and out of harm's way.
As Bill's presidency came to an end, Hillary was able to begin to expand her own political aspirations. In the year 2000, it became increasingly obvious that she was keen to run for New York's Senate seat, a very important step for anyone considering the future presidency. Locals in the notoriously tough town were skeptical.
I think that I like Hillary as a First Lady, and I like her as a role model for young girls and young women, but for Senator for New York, she's never lived in New York, so I really don't think how she could make New Yorkers her first concern.
Hillary was initially standing against the mayor of New York, a contest that was destined to become ugly.
If it's Rudy Giuliani and Hillary, it's going to be the most fun campaign. I think she has no idea what New York is about. And it's fine if she wants to run. Robert Kennedy ran and wasn't a resident, and she actually resident. She doesn't even have to live in New York until she gets elected by the rules. I think she's going to get eaten alive. She hates the media, and I think it's a big mistake, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but they're going to chew her up and spit her out.
However, Rudy Giuliani pulled out, and faced with a less popular opponent, Hillary won with 55% of the vote.
Thank you for opening up your minds and your hearts, for seeing the possibility of what we could do together for our children and for our future here in this state and in our nation. I am profoundly grateful to all of you for giving me the chance to serve you.
She was sworn in early 2001 and immediately got to work building relationships with senators from both parties. When the New York Twin Towers were destroyed in the September 11 attacks, she was instrumental in rapidly securing billions in funding for redevelopment of the site. Years later, it became apparent that first responders to the scene had developed many resulting health problems, and the senator fought to ensure that they received appropriate treatment. In 2007, she took budget issues straight to President George W. Bush, reminding him that the new program would end if he didn't commit to federal funding.
And so there is a lot of medical work, the prescriptions that are needed to keep people going, the medical interventions that are required. I believe this is a moral responsibility of our nation. We owe it to these responders, the residents and others who were sickened because of the attack on our country.
Hillary's tilt at the White House brought with it some interesting responses. Issues surrounding women in power are rarely out of the press, but one artist decided to let his hands do the talking after hearing Sharon Stone comment that it was too soon for Hillary to become president because her sexual power was too threatening. The Museum of Sex in New York was happy to exhibit the piece.
The point of the piece for me was to at least continue the dialogue and the idea and get people to talk about that possibility and get over some of the apprehensions they may have about a woman president. If we could get beyond that, then we might see some real change in that regard.
Hillary was no doubt far too busy to stop off at the museum for a visit. Her committee work as a senator included budget, armed services, environment and public works, and security and cooperation in Europe. She also continued to focus on social issues, introducing the Family Entertainment Protection Act to protect children from inappropriate video game content, and voting against the federal marriage amendment, which sought to ban same-sex marriage. In 2007, Hillary officially threw her hat into the ring for the presidential race. No woman had ever been nominated by a major party, and she was up against the hugely charismatic Barack Obama. Both set early fundraising records, and by September she was leading in the first 6 states. But gradually Barack's message of change became more popular than Hillary's message of experience. In June, the battle was all but over, and Hillary graciously accepted defeat. It was testament to her strength of character that she was able to quickly recover from such a public defeat. But aspects of the battle must have left scars. When Barack was elected, there was an overwhelming outpouring of love and support for him and his family. And Hillary, all too aware of the inglorious end to Bill's presidency, may have found the hype a little difficult to stomach.
That there really is this sense that perhaps now we've elected someone into the real White House who could conceivably behave in ways that we've only recently seen people in fictional White House behave, like President Bartlett in The West Wing and that kind of thing. A guy that can talk, a guy that's charismatic, a guy that seems to have some kind of vision. And the fact that we're covering this political candidate and we're seeing him and his family covered in all of these celebrity magazines, not because of a scandal, is really kind of unusual for American culture these days.
Although at times the contest had become bitter and personal, Barack was quick to invite the senator to accept the prestigious position of U.S. Secretary of State. It wasn't long before her prodigious diplomatic skills were being tested in talks behind closed doors with European and U.S. officials. After a meeting with Middle East envoy George Mitchell, she spoke to the press.
It is our hope that the work that needs to be done to move the parties toward an effort to settle many of the disputes that they currently confront will be effective. But Hamas knows that it must stop the rocket fire into Israel.
The Secretary of State also met with the British Foreign Secretary David Miliband. The United Kingdom and United States have been allies in the war on terror, and Hillary was eager to continue that close relationship. On the table for discussion was Iran and its increasing nuclear activities.
Iran has an opportunity to step up and become a productive member of the international community. As President Obama said, we are reaching out a hand, but the fist has to unclench. And we will see how we proceed together toward a policy that we believe represents the objectives that we share vis-a-vis Iran. So I thank you all for being here to record the slight change, but more than that, the continuity in the special relationship. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
From early in her career, Hillary faced the kinds of barriers which an equally ambitious man would not. In an acknowledged double standard, a career-focused man is celebrated, but a woman who puts her career first faces a great deal of suspicion. She and Bill have one daughter, Chelsea, who was born in 1980. But motherhood has done little to soften Hillary's public image. Aware of the criticisms, she has taken the opportunity to realign herself with more traditional family values when she can. At the beginning of Bill's presidency, she posed for Vogue magazine. In the photograph taken by Annie Leibovitz, the First Lady refused to wear the black off-the-shoulder gown, wanting to distance herself from anything sexually provocative. She also performed the traditional First Lady duty of placing the top ornament on the national Christmas tree, a frivolity she undertook with grace. The Secretary of State has always kept social causes close to her heart, and in 1996 she had the opportunity to meet perhaps the world's most famous ambassadors of the underprivileged. The Princess of Wales was in the US to raise money for one of her charities, and the two high-powered women met over breakfast at the White House.
I want to welcome all of you, and particularly our guest of honor, Diana, Princess of Wales. I was thinking as I met her in the Blue Room that this is one of the nicest British invasions that the White House has ever had. The other one, as some of you may remember from history, burned the place down, but now we have the metaphorical equivalent of that excitement here in the White House. And it's because she is a woman who has had a tireless commitment to the homeless, to AIDS, cancer, leprosy, and other health issues. And we are so pleased that she is lending her support to this continuing fight against breast cancer.
Alongside her heavy political workload, Hillary is also a published author. In 2003, she released her memoir, Living History, for which she received a rumored sum of over $5 million US. And only 1 year later, her husband's memoir, My Life, hit the shelves. He was reportedly paid double.
Hopefully an opportunity to hear what Clinton personally felt about a lot of things that he couldn't comment on when he was in office, the scandal and sort of his feelings on Kenneth Starr, and an opportunity to hear, you know, what, in retrospect, he thought of his presidency and what the mistakes were in particular, because we're in a bit of a quagmire now.
Some buyers were no doubt keen to get an insider's glimpse of the famously complicated marriage.
We had a lot of people come in today to the store to sign up. This is the first day that we put the book on sale, and we had quite a few customers, probably around 300 or 400 so far, and we have all the way until the 22nd, so we expect it to be a very successful signing.
Hillary's current high-profile role in the government sees her travel the world. She's now in a fantastic position to bring about change in areas that matter to her. In 2009, she was in India for talks on the increasingly urgent topic of climate change.
The challenge is to create a global framework that recognizes the different needs and responsibilities of developed and developing countries alike. And I not only understand, but I agree with the concerns of countries like India. The United States and other countries that have been the biggest historic emitters of greenhouse gases should shoulder the biggest burden for cleaning up the environment and reducing our carbon footprint.
The Secretary of State showed the masterful diplomatic delicacy she is renowned for.
Today we are called to collaborate once again. We have to work together because it's imperative that we invest in the science that will increase crop yields, that we do more to link farms and markets so that farmers can sell their products, that we expand the export of technology and training to bring more assistance to farmers in vulnerable communities worldwide, and we strengthen our response to climate change, which threatens the waterways that sustain agriculture in many parts of the world, including South Asia.
The same year, she was in Kenya, where she told a university audience that America was finally taking concrete steps towards addressing its status as a major cause of the world's pollution.
The United States is now, under President Obama's leadership, accepting our responsibility for having been historically the largest greenhouse gas emitter. And we are moving very aggressively. We put about $90 billion into a fund in our own country to develop technology, to make changes so that we could actually begin to reduce our emissions, regardless of what Copenhagen ends up with.
She also discussed the rights of women, and in particular, the violation they suffer during periods of war.
It is the worst example of man's inhumanity to women. And women are being used in conflicts. Now, what are the conflicts about? Well, yes, there are tribal and other reasons why the conflicts are going on, but get below the surface. It's because there are mines in eastern Congo that produce the minerals that go into our cell phones and our other electronics. There is a lot of money being made by a lot of people, but it sure isn't helping the people of the DRC.
What remains inspiring about this icon of female power is her ability to remember ordinary people and her ongoing desire to help make positive, far-reaching change. Most First Ladies are content early on, excelling academically, physically, and in leadership roles at school. Unusually for the time, both her parents encouraged her to pursue her own career. Her love of politics was obvious from a young age. It was at Wellesley College, where she studied political science, that Hillary made the shift away from conservative ideals. Her first presidential position was on the College Government Association Board, where she showed her ability to broker agreements, managing to keep the college clear of the violent protests that besieged
our greatest strength. Then perhaps other nations will see the advantage of working to overcome their own ethnic and religious tensions.
The story goes that Hillary was given the unusual double L in her first name after her pregnant mother read an article on the mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary. The dates don't quite add up, but the story illustrates her mother Dorothy's determination to inspire her daughter. Her father Hugh was a successful small businessman, and Hillary has two brothers, Hugh and Tony. As the eldest child, she showed her intelligence, energy and talent
to America for leadership in meeting our great common challenges. If we in America can extend prosperity to people and places in this country that have not yet felt it, then perhaps the global economy can bring a better life to the 1.4 billion people who live on less than $1 a day.
That vision began in the classroom.
If we in America can provide all of our children with a world-class education, then perhaps it will be possible in the not-too-distant future for every child in the world to have a good education. And if we can build one America and make our diversity our...
to stay out of politics and just enjoy the fabulous social life. But Hillary Rodham Clinton is as much a political beast as her husband and former US President Bill Clinton. Known for her deep commitment to social issues, the outspoken feminist has never been afraid of making enemies. A trait that stands her in good stead in the dog-eat-dog, male-dominated world of politics. As the clock ticked over into the new millennium, she took the opportunity to share her vision of America's future.
For in the new millennium, the world will be looking